Hey everyone, welcome back to the Gainer Gossip. It's Pluto, and with me as always is.
Hey guys, it's Ginny here.
And today we have with us one of my friends that I've met recently in the tabletop world. Um, is pretty much the reason behind the initiative order, as it's his child, I would say. But with us today is Danny. Danny, why don't you go ahead and give yourself an introduction to the audience?
Hi, I'm Danny. You can find me online at Check for Traps on all social medias, and you can find me at the Initiative Order across the interwebs as well, as the founder of the channel and the community and all that jazz. That's me.
Be here with us today. So I have some questions, but like I told you before, we'll probably veer off once we get like two questions in. That seems to be the case with the
Yeah.
show. So just start simple and go from there. So generally, I like to ask everyone is what got you into tabletop games? Like when did you start playing? What was like your first system that you ran, and then like how's that evolved to like today?
Um, I have an easy answer and probably one of the most common answers these days.
Mm-hmm.
Critical Role.
Nice.
Critical Role.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. So I started. I before I got into tabletop, I was into video games and video gaming. And my favorite game to play is The Last of Us. Um,
Mm.
it's just amazing. I love anything like horror, sci-fi, post-apocalyptic.
Mm-hmm.
So I was playing that, and
Awesome.
I was watching gameplay videos on YouTube. And then like looking at the behind the scenes stuff for that, and then you see Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson, and then my YouTube started recommending Critical Role, and it was like episode this, episode that. I was like, what is this? Clicked on it, like watched like 10 minutes. I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's like, this is Dungeons and Dragons. I know what this is. And then I watched, and um, it was campaign one. They were like, I don't remember how many episodes it was, but it was during Craven Edge, Grog and Craven Edge,
Okay.
the possessed sword, and that's when I started watching it. And then I got into that. I was like, oh, this is cool. I'd like to play it. So I like reached out through Facebook groups for like local places to play D&D. Um, and that's when I got into my first group as a player and started playing fifth edition from there. And I played in one campaign and then became a GM, and I've been a GM ever since.
Yep, that seems to be the case. Luckily, I've been able to play more recently, but yeah, it's still like 80 to 90% GMing.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's awesome. See, I
That
never,
is really cool.
I don't know why I can't get into Critical Role. I've tried various times, and I love the cast. Like I've loved them in where I've seen them as players and other stuff.
Mm.
I think it's just the tone of the campaigns on there are a little more serious, and I like more comedy based shows, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think with like when I first started watching it, I had no concept of
Mm-hmm.
how D&D was played or anything like that. So to me, it was watching a show.
Yeah.
And campaign one had a lot more. I feel campaign one had a lot more comedy elements early on
Mm-hmm.
before it went really serious and really Liam O'Brien brooding boy that he is,
Yeah.
that kind of arc. And then the tone of the show has kind of kept that way through the seasons moving forward. Um, I'm nowhere near up to date with the show anymore because
I keep trying. Like I tried to watch campaign one for a little bit, got through maybe a handful of episodes, got stopped,
mm,
then stopped and never got back to it. Tried the same thing with campaign two, didn't happen. I watched Xandria, I think like at least halfway through, and Critical in season three or campaign three for a while too, and just fell off. The only one I've watched all
yeah,
the way through was Calamity, and that was because it was like four episodes, and it was Brennan who I'm used to
yeah,
watching.
exactly, yeah. It's
So
like I
You
don't
love
have
watching
I
Brennan.
yeah.
yeah, that's
Brennan's amazing.
yeah.
Brennan's so
Yeah.
good.
Brennan was my introduction to D&D and tabletop.
Yeah,
I started like I stumbled across a Terry Crews like Geek and Sundry thing that he did. It was like a WoW based campaign, like a one shot or something.
oh yeah,
And
yeah,
then
I remember
yeah,
that.
I watched that. It was like right around like a couple months before COVID hit, like or like that 2018, 2018, something like that. and then stumbled into Dimension 20 as I got down that rabbit hole, and then
Mm.
just got lost in Dimension 20 because that is hilarious. It's awesome. Which is probably maybe that might also be why it's harder for me to get the critical role since I started with all Dimension 20 stuff. Because their stuff's 100% comedy.
Yeah, it
Even
is.
their
Yeah.
horror season they're doing right now still has a lot of bits in it.
Mm.
So
It's shorter as well. Like, who's got 5 hours a week free
yeah,
to sit
it's
down
so
and watch
hard.
Critical
It's
Role?
so hard. Like, and if I have it in
Yeah.
the background, like I will rewatch Dimension 20 if I'm doing other stuff in the background because it's easier. But like with new episodes, it's so hard to like, even with Never After right now, I have to keep rewinding because I'm like doing other stuff
Mm.
while I'm watching it. So I couldn't do that for a 5 hour episode. It would take me probably 8 hours to actually get through it.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
like a whole work
Yeah,
day.
and I don't know like as much about D&D as you do, obviously, but I love Brennan too. I love watching Brennan. I love the way he comes up with his like ideas and campaigns, and like all his stuff is really good.
Yeah, Brennan and Matt both are insane with all of that,
Mm.
with their real built and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just insane. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, with that, then so you're I forget how long Critical Role's been out. It's not been out. What is it, like 10 years now? Maybe.
I think it's been that long.
Yeah, maybe shorter even. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, how did you translate getting into tabletop just in
Excuse
general,
me.
and now you work at a tabletop company and you run the
Yes.
initiative order? Like, how did
That's
that
amazing.
come along after all? Just like getting into it so randomly.
So yeah, everything kind of happened randomly. Um, yes, after playing in my first campaign like of D&D, I then became a forever GM, which that is not me complaining. I love GMing; it is my
Hmm.
favorite thing to do. I enjoy being a player, but I love GMing more. Yeah. But then I started a campaign with a group of players, and we became like a really solid group. And we really enjoyed the campaign, the story, and the depth of character creation that we were doing. And we're like, let's stream it. Let's stream it on Twitch. So that's where the initiative order originally started. Was just a group of friends streaming a D&D game,
Hmm.
and it wasn't originally called the initiative order. That was the second name we went with. First name was called the Chaos Kitchen because we streamed from my kitchen.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
That's awesome.
but then it changed. Then I created the initiative order as the name and did some branding and that. And it was just a D&D campaign. That's all the initiative order was. Just a
Hmm.
D&D campaign. And then scheduling happened and people's kind of work rotas and stuff changed so that we couldn't continue streaming the game to the level we wanted. So we kind of went, okay, we'll stop and we'll take it back to more casual, just a home game as and when we could.
Hmm.
The initiative order kind of died down then, and it was just me kind of using the branding and the name and that and the social media to post little bits here and there on social media. And then I was like doing little review videos of like friends' products and stuff, just kind of keeping it ticking over as a thing that was there, but not doing
Hmm.
anything. And then the story of how the initiative order is what it is now is COVID.
Yep.
Because pre-COVID, I was meant to be coming over to the US to go to GaryCon at Lake Geneva with the D&D Mecca convention.
Hmm.
Booked
Nice.
it, booked 2 weeks off work, all flights were booked, hotels were booked. I was booked in a load of games there with the same people at a lot of my tables who I got chatting with. And the day I finished work on the Friday, was due to fly out the Tuesday, woke up the Saturday morning in lockdown with everything cancelled.
Hmm.
Wow.
So I was like, fuck, what now? Like,
Yeah.
what do we do now? And I had recently bought the Call of Cthulhu starter set. So I was like, I was reading some H.P. Lovecraft stories. I was like, oh, Cthulhu is really cool. I like horror. I like cosmic weird stuff. So I was into that. So I was like, I'll get the starter set, see what it's all about. And I got it, played the solo adventures. Like, oh, I like this. I like the tone of this, and different from D&D. It's more stuff I'm into outside of D&D. So some of the people I was due to play GaryCon with at a lot of the tables was Bree and Nate,
Hmm.
who are now part of this Florida. So I reached out to Bree and I was like, hey, GaryCon's clearly not happening, and I'm clearly still in the UK. Do you want to play a game on Skype? because Skype was the thing then, not Zoom.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you want to just play a game online or something? And I was like, I've got Call of Cthulhu, you can try that. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. So I got a group together, and I again forever GM. I ran Call of Cthulhu for them, and we played like a 2-shot. And I posted pictures of like the setup, because I did like terrain and everything for it. Posted pictures on the Initiative Order social media, and tagged them in it. And from me tagging them in that, they asked, "Oh, what's the Initiative Order?" And then I explained the whole story of what that is, and then I explained what I was hoping it would become in the future, and the whole premise that I had. I want to build a channel or a community hub, blah blah blah. And BreeNet were really into the idea, and like, how can we help? And then it has snowballed into what it is today, and now we're a team of 9.
Awesome.
So
That is amazing.
Yeah, Corey gave us the brief summary of that when they were on, where you met
Yeah.
Bree and Nate, and it kind of just went from there. So nice to hear all the past story. I guess that's
Yeah.
one of the good things that came out of COVID,
Mhm.
because like I just joined last summer, I think. So yeah, it's only been around for like 3 or 4 years when I joined. So yeah.
Mhm.
Before that, I was just running. I had a West March, and I had the Satine game that I was playing in monthly before that fell apart. So yeah,
like
good timing.
COVID, yeah, like COVID obviously was not a good thing, but a lot of good stuff came from it, because it got me back into like acting and creating like my TikTok channel and connecting with people on there, like good friends. It's like, it's crazy, because I feel like even though it kind of stopped our world, it brought so many people together, like meet each other. And like, when you think about the like positive things, it's like, that's good that, you got to meet people that are into the same things as you. And I feel the same way about myself. And I know you do too, babe.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
the cool
Like,
thing.
yeah, like I think like if it wasn't for COVID and the whole kind of global lockdown, a lot of people would still just be playing in their home games with their home groups and in person, and wouldn't, took that step to branch out online and expand their kind of friend networks to the point where we're at today, where like the 3 of us are sat here.
Yeah.
I'm in the
Yeah.
UK, and I'm in England, chatting about the community I've made with a ton of people in the States and elsewhere. Like, that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for lockdown.
Yeah, I was just dipping my
100%.
toes into a West March group like for a few months when COVID hit, and then COVID hit, and I was starting to play more in there, and that's how I started GM. And they're like, "Oh, if you GM, you get to build a second character." I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll GM, I'll try it out," and then ended up running. I think during the COVID span, before that server kind of died off, and me and my friends left it, I ran like 80% of the games in that server.
Yeah,
I ended up being the main GM for that server. It was so bad. I had like all the plot storylines and everything. Everyone else had like little side plots. I had like a huge overarching plot for the whole campaign.
And like, you guys probably feel the same way about this. But this is kind of like how I feel too. It's like, the cool thing about it, like connecting with, friends and people that love the same stuff as you virtually, is it's like, you would have never met those people before. And it's like, now I met so many people I know I couldn't live without, in my opinion. I don't know, that may sound cheesy, but it's true. And it's like, it's cool to just how we can connect with people from different countries, different states, and really all join together and build like a genuine friendship. Sometimes even more than people that you're around all the time. And that's what's crazy, because you're meeting people that are into the same things as you.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like we have like a core group of friends. It's just like a mix of that original West March group I was in with some of my friends there that I met, and then me and 2 of the guys that I met in Satine's game. We've all been kind of like close in a good group of friends, and 2 of them ended up coming to our wedding 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then we had like a big Ren Fair event that same year. We met them all, and now one of them lives like an hour from us. So
Yeah, they moved to Ohio, so it's just so
yeah, it's
crazy.
insane.
Yeah, it's really cool. And that's like the same thing, with all of social media, like even the acting community on TikTok. It's so cool because, I used to live in LA, where some actors weren't the nicest. And there were some really nice people out there when I lived there, but some of them also weren't the nicest. And it was hard to build a lot of genuine connections with people into the same things as you. But it's
Mhm.
cool because now this community of people that I'm friends with and we collab with and we duet each other and support each other, it's a genuine friendship. And I think that that's so cool to find in what you love to do, because you never
Yeah.
feel alone when other people, and it pushes you to pursue your passions more because you're around
Mhm.
like-minded people like you. So
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely good when you have like a group of people who want the same things, but they're like actually like good people that are not super
Yeah.
toxic. Because I feel like a lot of people in both acting and tabletop community can be kind of toxic. There's some
Oh
definitely,
yeah.
especially like definitely like the last year or two, a lot of like we've seen a lot of toxicity coming out of the tabletop
Yeah.
community for sure. Like a lot of it's starting to get revealed and stuff from like obviously bid names. I'm not going to mention again, but some other people as well, even like recently. So like, yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes just because a creator, or not a creator, I'm using TikTok as an example, like a tabletop person, like I know who you're talking about, babe, like bigger people, just because they're bigger, it also doesn't mean that they're better than anyone else, you know? And I think sometimes people get this ego, like when they start getting really big, sometimes like, oh, well, like I have more of a following, so I'm gonna get cocky
Mhm.
about it and I feel like I'm better than other people. And I just
Hmm.
feel like that's such a bad attitude to have, because no matter how much I grow, and I'm sure you guys will agree with this, it's like I'm just so grateful for it to meet the people and also get to do what I love. And that attitude is that's why some of those people are getting, everyone's always gonna see your true colors at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's people like that who like use the fields like of like acting and entertainment and tabletop and all that stuff more for like personal gain than something they're actually like enjoy and have a passion about. Like it's very easy
Yeah,
to see and it comes across in a really bad way. Like if you're doing something just because you're like,
definitely.
oh, I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna be big and make a lot of money, it's like sure you could do that, but if you're doing it with that mentality, you're gonna be kind of a dick and no one's going to play with you or hang out with you or do
Yeah.
stuff with
Exactly.
you.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. 100%.
Yeah.
I would rather much stream like I'm doing on initiative order for maybe like was like 20 or 30 people usually live and having fun with cool people than trying to just I'm gonna go get on Critical Role or Dimension 20 hopefully. So I'm just gonna try to stream with only big people that you have like big followings. Like that's
But also,
it's
you have
just
to remember too, though, that that's like that's still a lot of people watching. You have to remember that, one day the initiative order could be as big as that. You have to also like
yeah.
be like, have confidence in yourself too, in a sense of like, you can become just as big as that. Just because you're smaller doesn't mean anything. All those people started out at the bottom, the same place you did.
Yeah. I think channels like the initial order and other channels that actually like are doing stuff that like for
Yeah.
fun generally is like the first thing. It's just like a fun thing to do online with other cool people. That's the
Yeah.
right mentality to have about it all, honestly.
100%. And if it grows, it grows, but you're doing it for the right reasons. Like people
Mhm.
can see when you're doing something for the clout or the fame, or if you're doing something because you truly love it. It shows no matter what. They try to
Yeah.
hide it, but it shows.
Yeah,
So
that's for
yeah.
sure. Oh man, but that was a little bit of a rant we went on, but
That's what a podcast is.
yeah. So I guess my next question is when did you get started at Modiphius? Like your what's your official title? You're like you're a project manager, right?
Yeah. I'm a project manager for several game lines
Okay.
that we have. Yes.
Which specific games is it again? I know there's like a handful.
So the ones I can tell you about.
Yeah, I know. I know you. I know you and April have teased me enough that you guys have stuff down the line. But
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
what do you have
So
that's out?
I'm in charge of Dune, Adventures in the Imperium,
Hmm.
and Conan,
Okay.
as well,
Nice.
and several others that currently are NDA restricted.
Awesome.
I can't tell you about those, but you never know. In the coming months, things might get revealed. But big
That's
That's
awesome.
things.
amazing.
I
That's
will
all I can say.
definitely. I will definitely keep an eye out. I'm going to try really hard not to blow tax money on magic cards and tabletop stuff. So
Yes, yes.
like, I really want to
That's
buy. I
hard for
really want.
you.
I really want to buy the Fallout book. I'm really thinking about it. Some of the systems I haven't been able to play yet since joining TIO. I'm like, oh, people keep running it, but I can't ever make the game times yet. I need to play it.
That's why we're forever GMs, because we can't get a
Yeah.
chance to play in the game, so we'll just
That's
run the game. That way
exactly
we
what.
have
That's
to play.
exactly what I've been doing. Like since I joined TIO, I was like, all these cool systems. I'll just run them all. I'll just learn and run all these systems.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, then you don't have to
Yeah.
wait. You can just do it at your convenience, and you can just play
Mhm.
whatever inside that world.
Exactly.
Can Babe, I know you have a list of questions, Pluto, but do you mind if I ask
Yeah, you're
Danny
fine.
a question?
I'm pretty much
I'm wondering about
I'm pretty
something.
much already off my script, so go
Oh, okay.
ahead.
I just want to know, like, because obviously, like, you're also a GM, so you create like the worlds and stuff for your like, people to play as well
Mhm.
when you're creating this whole world. Like, what is your favorite part of that? Like creating the world, setting up the NPCs, the characters. Like, what do you love the most about that? The creative process of that.
For me, because Pluto knows this because they have played in some of my games.
Mhm.
I don't prep anything before game time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Um, if I'm going to be running a campaign, I will have some maybe an A4 sheet of paper, like one side with some skeleton notes for an entire campaign.
Yeah.
That's it. My favorite part of GMing is the improv side of it, is the rolling with what the players create. So
Yeah.
based on the players, what characters they create and roll up and the backstories they create, I just riff off that. And that's my favorite thing, is riffing off the group and the energy and the flow and just rolling with it. My,
That's so
my favorite part
cool.
of the GM.
I love that you don't prep it though, because I think that's so cool because like as an actor, like I love improv too. Because I think improv is so fun. You get to like create it on the top of your head. Like when I do an acting challenge, I just come up with it in the moment. And no matter what it is, even if I don't think, oh, that may not be good, I'm still gonna roll with it because it's fun and it's just a fun creative process. And I love that you do that as like a GM, you do improv because
Mhm.
it makes it more fun. I feel like for you, because everything's new, everything's a surprise, and you don't know where the game is gonna go, which is really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And you get to shape the
Mhm.
direction and the route the players are going
Yeah.
in whatever flows naturally and works well for the dynamic of the group. Like I have a million zillion stories in my head that I
Yeah.
can run with and I can pull out and put to the group as they're playing it. Um, but yeah, I sometimes find if I prep, because I used to prep when I first started GMing, which is
Yeah.
always, I always, preach always
Mhm.
prep until you're comfortable without, and you don't need to prep.
Yeah.
But I used to over prep and then have maybe pages of notes that would never happen because the players went in a different direction that I didn't prep for.
Yeah.
So I find it easier to prep less than ad lib more,
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
then take notes whilst you're ad libbing so you remember for next time.
Yeah, when I started GMing
That's
and
really
was
cool.
purely running D&D, I would prep so much plot notes and characters and stuff and have to adjust all the time. Now with D&D and Pathfinder Starfinder, I prep a little bit because you got to have stat blocks and stuff. So I'll have like different stat blocks set up at the ready, and I'll have like some maps and like NPC pictures set up. But like the plot's usually pretty loose,
Hmm.
or it's like based around backstory of theirs, so that I know they'll want to go that way at some point. For other systems, I might throw some NPCs together. That might be about
Yeah.
it. But beyond that, like any Powered by Apocalypse game I run, I rarely do any prep.
Hmm.
Um, Starfinder, like even the campaign I'm running now, there's been some prep. And it's been mostly some world building stuff because I made like my own world, like galaxy for it. But like after the world building stuff, like the plots, like I have like a plot line now after looking at their bad stories. Like, and that's
Yeah.
only if they go where I think they're gonna go.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
it's
It's one of those, if you're comfortable with the system you're running and the setting you put it in, like you then know enough
mhm.
background information to pull anything out of the bag and have it still rooted and seated in the game you're playing. And
Yeah.
you can riff off that. If you've got the background, the comfortability with the setting and the mechanics, you can just riff. And I mean, mechanics are guidelines, they're not rules, so
Mhm.
just stick to the rules.
Yeah.
But if you know, if you're comfortable with the setting that you're playing in, it's you can just create from that, and it'll still fit and make sense.
That's
And
really cool. And I like hearing about that because I think that's interesting for me, like to hear about that. That's like the process. Like that's so cool because as you're improving, it's like the stories come into life kind of thing,
Hmm.
yeah, I've
which
had
is
various
cool.
times where I just sit there for like 20 minutes and watching the players improv, like RP and Improv, and then something they say in that conversation gives me a like something that pops up like, oh, we can do that. And then I just
Yeah,
point them like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
exactly.
they write like half the plot for me. So
And like I always tell Pluto, I'm like, I always say I'm like not the best at like D&D or Vampire the Masquerade. Those are the ones that I played. But he's like, no, you're doing fine because I don't know like I'm bad at combat. Like I don't know much about combat. But like he is they are right. Like it does also tie into acting because you know you are acting as the character. So that aspect of it I really do enjoy.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I love Vampire the Masquerade because there's less combat.
Yeah, I was gonna
And you can
say.
just role play the character.
Yeah,
Which
D&D,
I like.
even the non-combat features, like at the end of the day, D&D is so based around combat. Like everything can be used for combat. So in the day, that's what they push you towards. Vampire has combat, but it's quick and over quick because half the time you don't want to fight in Vampire because you will get fucked up. Like even when we ran the campaign, I think the most the combat was for Gus specifically because he wanted to kill some werewolves. So we had a whole montage where he went off and fought werewolves alone, and surprisingly didn't die. He killed like 6 werewolves alone. I was like, Jesus Christ!
Oh, for the one game that I was in on your stream, that
Yeah,
was
he went werewolf. He went werewolf hunting. He was like it's werewolf season, and then left the group. And I was like, okay, we'll roll for this. Oh, that was insane. But yeah, I honestly like I like and I dislike combat. Like as a player, I love combat because as a player, I min-max the hell out of all my characters because that's just how I am. I min-max like the specific build I want, and then I build the plot around that for my character of like how they fit and make it sense. Like I'm playing a Cthulhu game for Chris this month in TIS community game, and I rolled high in strength. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna build everything into Brawlin. And I was like, how do I make this make sense? Okay, this chick's an MMA fighter. And I was like, okay. And then I just gave her a bunch of stuff from the last. I was like, MMA fighters make a lot of money, so I bumped my wealth all the way up. And then playing Cthulhu in modern time with money is insane. You get so much. I bought so like it's crazy the difference between the 20s and the modern version of that game. I have a fully loaded truck, a penthouse apartment, a motorcycle, and then I still had to end up putting money into stocks because I couldn't figure out anything to buy for my assets. I had so much shit. I even like Bree made my sister for that game, and like even with me spending money on their character, I still had too much money.
See, what you need to do now, because if you've played Cthulhu in the 1920s and you've played modern, you need to play Cthulhu Dark Ages third edition, which is medieval England.
Okay, well, you need to run it because you're the Cthulhu master. I'll play. I'm waiting to finish a Cthulhu game with you right now and an Alien game, so I'm ready.
I know. Scheduling. We'll get there.
Speaking of improv, he literally improved a romance story in the Alien story. Alex's character read like the trashy romance novels, and he made a whole series off of that. So we're like in the middle of book 2 right now. I think it's that.
Yeah, we're on book 2.
We have a story within a story.
That's cool. And I was gonna ask, because like for people watching, like for me, for instance, because I don't know too much about tons of tabletop because I'm more into acting, but I love learning about it. So for people watching that may not know what Cthulhu is, like what type of game is that? If you guys don't mind answering.
So Call of Cthulhu is another tabletop role-playing game made by a company called Chaosium. It is a role-playing game based on some of the novellas and stories created by H.P. Lovecraft, a 1920s writer who grew to a cult fame with his stories called Cthulhu, and about the Cthulhu mythos and the creatures and eldritch horrors and abominations in that. And then the role-playing game is based around that. It's the core game is set in the 1920s, but there is additional information to play in the modern times, and there is a supplement, other edition that is Dark Ages. And a friend of mine recently has written a Cthulhu Regency era Cthulhu. So like Jane Austen era called Cthulhu.
Don't tell her that. She loves Regency era shit.
It's good. It's very good. I recommend it. Oh yeah, it's another roleplay game based around this Cthulhu mythos and having these like eldritch entities in the world, and you investigating and dealing with them. And one of the key mechanics in that is sanity. So you have the ability to go insane and have like bouts of madness where you kind of lose your shit. And yeah, but it's fun. It's horror. Yeah, it's horror, sci-fi horror. role-playing game, which is right up my alley because I run sci-fi horror games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. 'Cause I do know about the Eldritch Chairs and everything, and I also do know about H.P. Lovecraft because I also watched this anime called Bungo Stray Dogs, and he's one of the characters they have like on there representing as him, like very horror type. But I like that kind of stuff too. So that sounds fun. And I wanted like the people watching to know about it because I'm like maybe they'd be interested because it sounds like a good time, honestly.
Yeah, and it's a very role-play heavy
Mm-hmm.
system as well. Like we were talking about, D&D is very combat focused. It's very mechanical and crunchy. Call of Cthulhu and other similar like horror games and stuff like that are very role play heavy. So it's less reliance on the mechanics and the math of the game, and more about role playing scenes and what's going on around you and investigating and stuff like that.
Yeah, Call of Cthulhu and Alien and such, you very much do not want to be in combat. That's when you die.
I figured.
Or go insane, one of the two. It can get pretty intense. I think our Call of Cthulhu session ended last time with me watching my commander blow his own head off because he went insane. So yeah,
Oh,
it can get pretty dark. It can get pretty crazy. Yeah, it's a fun game.
Yeah. And you love horror
I'm
stuff
ready.
too.
I'm
so.
ready for that sanity roll. It's going to be horrible for me to start in that session.
Oh yeah. Just wait till you figure out why they did that. That's the
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
And then in the Alien game, when you open the door,
Oh yeah, we're cramped in a room right now, the three of us with some NPC, and we're pretty sure there's an alien on the other side of the door. And all we have is a jerry rigged flamethrower that I half-assed threw together before we ran away.
Oh gosh.
It's gonna be fun. Don't tell Alex, but
Yeah.
I'm totally gonna push him forward if the thing comes to the door first.
as long as you keep hold of his book and don't let the book burn.
Oh, I'm taking the book. We got to continue. Me and Pep's got to continue the story. Alex is gonna be bait. He'll be fine.
Nice.
He can take it.
Yeah, I'll need to do a cover for that second volume because we have a cover for volume 1.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
We do not have a cover for Volume 1. I still can't believe you did that. Man. Okay, so with that, let me think what else we could talk about.
I feel like I asked 2 questions. I'm sorry, Pluto.
No, I'm trying to think of that cover. We'll show you later.
Oh, okay.
So with that, you're currently running, I believe, Death in Space, right?
Yes.
How many episodes is that? That's coming up when it's end, right?
No, this is a long standing.
Oh, it's a long standing campaign.
Yeah. So we're 4 episodes in, and I ended the last episode. Anyone who's not watched it yet, cover your ears. I've just chopped a player's leg off.
Oof.
Or yeah, so that's fun.
I think I caught the end. That was Maz, right?
Yeah.
It was Maz. Yeah, I saw that. I popped in to support you and Corey and Maz because I'm playing on Maz's channel, running the game on Maz's channel this month. So I popped in. I think I popped in right as it happened because they were like laying back in their seat completely.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, Death in Space looks fun. It's definitely been on my list too. I have way too many games that I want to play, but I'm probably gonna have to run them all at this point.
Is there a lot of tabletop games? RPG? Are there a lot?
I don't know if it'll show up with the green screen. Let me see if I can bring my list up on here.
There's thousands.
Okay.
Really? Wow.
So let me zoom in a little bit. So down to here is like everything that I've ran or played. This is everything that I still or is on my list at the moment that I want to run or play. So there's a lot. There's a lot of systems.
There's a lot, yeah. And the cool thing about role playing games is the premise of a role playing game is so basic that it's really easy to create your own.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't need a 400-page rule book for it to be a role playing game. It can be there's a lot of games out there that are like 1-page RPGs.
Wow.
That's all you need. Because again, it's role playing, it's improv, it's communal storytelling.
It's just improv with some guidelines. It gives you a base to go off of, and then you take it from there.
So if you wanted to create like not like the actual Marvel, but like fake Marvel characters and a Marvel base campaign,
There,
like a hero campaign.
there's
You can do
so many.
stuff like
There's
that
so
too.
many superhero games. There's
That's
so many.
cool.
I'm literally running one next month. There's so many superhero.
Wait, which one?
I'm using the Fate system, and they have a superhero
Oh, you told me
supplement
that. Yeah, you
for
told me
that
that.
called Venture
Cool.
City that like shows you how to like build superpowers out. But yeah, there's
That's really
that.
cool.
There's Mask. There's Mutants and Masterminds.
There is
Um,
there is an official Marvel
there
role
is.
playing game
I
called
ran that and I ran that as a
Really?
community game. I think
Mhm.
it was like my first community game. I think I ran in CIO.
It was.
Yeah, it was still in its rough stages the last time I looked at it. I haven't seen if there's been an update yet. I need to check it out
Mm.
again. I've been checking every few months to see, but yeah, it's not bad for where it's at right now. So I'm kind of excited to see where it goes once they release it all like fully. But yeah,
Mhm.
That's
there's a
really
lot, and you
cool.
could honestly like there's so many systems that are like set in agnostic that you could almost
Yeah.
run anything in.
Yeah. 100%.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
so
really
Yeah.
cool.
yeah, you can pretty much play any scenario you would want and make it tabletop. You'd like any of your shows that you watch, maybe you could turn it into a tabletop game pretty easily.
That's cool though. I didn't realize that. That's really neat.
Mhm.
It's very easy to create systems in tabletop in general. Like I'm literally working on 3 games right now, so that I'm very slow
Nice.
with. But yeah, I'm making a Powered by Apocalypse game with Corey. I'm trying to create a game from scratch, and then I'm using that 2D20 system at the moment for a game. So like, there's a lot of different ways to create games and stuff, and ideas you can
Yeah.
go with it.
Because the basic premise
Nice.
of a role playing game in terms of mechanics is you're doing something. Is there a chance you could fail at what you're doing? If there is, then you you do something. So you roll dice, you flip a coin, you
Mm-hmm.
draw a card to determine whether you succeed at what you're doing or you fail. That's it. That's the basic premise of role playing
Yeah.
mechanics.
Yeah.
Everything else is fluff and extra stuff to kind of give it a little bit more make it more onerous and give it a bit more gravitas of what you're doing, and a bit more of a
Nice.
reason to why you're rolling it. But the basic premise is success or fail,
Yep.
and everything
Nice.
else is just role playing.
Yeah, no matter what system you're playing,
That's
you're just
cool.
role playing, and when something comes up that your character may or may not be able to do, there's some type of mechanic to figure that out.
Mhm.
It's pretty much the same premise.
What is the one that I'm playing and that Corey's running? What campaign is that?
Flabbergasted. It's a one shot that they're running. It's like a
Yeah.
1920s comedic version of the Roaring Twenties. So
Ooh.
it's very heavy RP. I think it just came out recently. It's very RP heavy. It has like a lot like almost there's no really combat to the system. I think it's like social. It's
Mm.
pretty much social combat kind of. Like there's a scandal to dignity tracker, I think. So if you get one way up or the other, that affects like your stand-in with people. And there's different moves
Okay.
that you can use at like the party and stuff. So I know you were
I'm playing
thinking
a
of,
guy and
yeah, I know you were thinking of making Marcus from your Ginny and Marcus show, right?
Oh heck yeah,
Or
Ginny
Ginny
and
and Georgia
Georgia.
show.
And
Yeah,
yes, I'm playing Felix's character, Marcus. Yes.
yeah, we sort of
I
both.
love taking from my shows and playing those type of characters because then I get into it
Yeah, it's
a lot.
easiest for her to play a character when it's a character she already knows. Like
Yeah,
you
because I get
played
attached to my character.
she played Cheryl from Riverdale in my vampire
I
game.
did.
And then she
I did.
played you played
Thomas
Dick you played
from
Dick yeah, you played Thomas from
Oh
Gossip
yeah.
Girl in the first campaign I ran on my channel. And then you
Yeah.
played Dick Grayson for like a one shot.
Dick Grayson is amazing. I love playing as him. But then I was sad because I wanted to play him more because we had this vampire game with our friends like in person, but they didn't like it. And Pluto was like, "Oh, well, it's okay. You know, we'll play it again with them." But we didn't, so I chose Cheryl instead. And I wish I would have chose Dick Grayson because I wanted to play him more, and I'd rather play him. I don't like playing
To be
girls
fair, I
really.
think it was mostly JR that we stopped playing that game because vampire
Yeah.
is not combat heavy and he's definitely a murder hobo. So
It's so weird. I'm very girly, but I don't like playing girl characters. Like if it's acting, then that's fine. But like for like games, like I prefer to play a guy character because it's opposite of me. So I feel like it's more fun to get to play like the playboy type guy or just like I don't know. I
I
enjoy
mean,
it more.
we're GM. Me and Danny play everybody. So
Oh yeah.
Yes. If you like playing like the Lothario character, and you like the Regency era, then I'm sorry, Pluto, but I'm going to recommend a game called The Good Society. It's a Jane Austen RPG, and it's all about like
Oh
gossip
nice.
and
yep. That was
social
the
standing and everything.
game they mixed with
sounds like fun.
5e on Dimension 20 for Court of Fane Flowers.
Yeah.
It has like a whole
Oh.
there's like a whole there's whole mechanic. I think everything on there that wasn't combat was based around that system. There's like a reputation system.
Yeah.
There's like tokens you can
Nice.
get from people to use for certain stuff. There's like a
Mhm.
whole letter write-in system in
Oh
it.
wow.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
very
you
it's
do
very
monologues and
Regency.
everything in it.
Yeah, they
That's
literally
so
they literally
cool.
would be like, "Dear da da da," and then write out like they wouldn't really write the letter. They would just like say what's in the letter and like pass it around. They would do like one per like session or something. To start of the session, you would write a letter to someone.
That's so cool.
And
One
once
of you run it, please, so I can play.
Sure, I'll learn and I'll add another system to my thing. I feel like that's a game we gotta get like Corey or Bree to run. I don't think I'd be as good as running that type of game.
You don't think so?
No, that's probably not a. I don't need combat, but I gotta have at least a little bit of combat.
That's true. That's how you are with your shows too.
Yeah, I gotta have a little
For
bit of
me,
action.
it's not an era. It's not an era I'm familiar with, like the Regency period
Mhm.
and the Jane Austen. I haven't read enough in that era to do it. I've never watched Downton Abbey. I've never watched Bridgerton.
Yeah, I'm not into any of that kind of stuff.
I
She
love
loves those stuff.
Bridgerton so much.
I'll get the book and I'll send it to Corey, and then we'll have Corey run it.
All right, sounds good. Bet.
Okay.
Yeah, I try to get them to watch Bridgerton, and they're like, "No, I won't watch Bridgerton." I'm like, "But I think you would like it." And Justin is like, "Nope, I'm not doing it."
That show I watched every time I walked in on you in season 1 of you watching that show, someone was just on the screen fucking.
No.
Yeah, that's all I've heard.
That's all it is.
No, that was season 1. There was a lot of that, but season 2, they really didn't have any of those scenes. I'm not lying to y'all. They really didn't.
Bridgerton's like softcore
We'll
porn.
see about
Just admit
season
it.
3. I don't know.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's not
Uh-huh.
my cup of tea. I think that flabbergasted thing, even though it's 1920s, will be sort of that kind of feel of like that kind of game that you're looking for.
It sounds similar. It sounds like it's that social
Mhm.
social politics and stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to walk you through your character. We have until what, I think 2 Saturdays from now to play it, so we have time.
Nice.
Yeah, it should be
Sounds
fun.
good. I'm excited about it. I can't wait.
Nice. But talking about creating games and stuff, and I know I'm currently using it. Do you want to talk about the whole 2D20 system thing that's going on right now with Modiphius?
Oh God.
As much I know you might not be personally involved in it, but you can give like the quick spiel that you know about it at least.
I can give you the overview thing that I know. I don't know a lot about it because it's not where my role is directed. Although I know a lot about 2D20 because I've been assisting on writing a game for the system.
Why don't you start with talking about about the 2D20 system in general first, just so people get an idea about it if they haven't played one of those games, and then go from there.
Yeah. So Modiphius Entertainment, the company I work for, we have our own RPG mechanical system called 2D20. And the basic thing is you have your stats, and you don't have many. You have like four stats. I forget the word. And then you have skills based on those. And basically, you roll 2D20, and you have to roll under the stat on 1 dice for a success. On 2, if you roll 2, it's 2 successes, and you can bank that extra success, and it generates a point of what's called momentum, and you can spend momentum later to gain extra dice or do specific things and stuff depending on the system you're in. And that's the basic premise. You can roll up to 5 d20s. So you always roll 2, and then if you gain momentum, you get to spend momentum to buy more dice and roll up to 5. It's a really simple mechanic. It's a really simple system. And then you have your skills as well, and your skill is always less than your key stat. So if you roll below both of them, it's then classed as a critical success, and you gain 2 momentum rather than 1 momentum to spend. And then the GM has what's called threat, and you have so many points of threat, and threat is the GM's version of momentum. So the GM can spend threat to gain dice rolls for NPC rolls in combat, whatever, and they can spend threat to up the difficulty on certain tasks. They can use it to create what in this game we have. It's called truths. So you can create truths through spending momentum, and a GM can create truths through spending threat. And a truth is basically a keyword or phrase that then impacts the game. So if we're in a social game, like we've just been talking about the Good Society and stuff like that, and we were all at a very posh banquet together, and we were there because we were undercover and we were spying on people there to gain gossip and, you know, secrets. But Ginny, you had one too many drinks while we were there, and I asked you to roll like the equivalent of a constitution check, and you didn't succeed. But I had, as a GM, I had some threat points, and I would spend those to create the truth that you are drunk. Do you have the truth that you're drunk? And then what that means is then I can then state that that truth dictates that on your next skill checks, you're gonna roll with disadvantage, or the equivalent of, because you're drunk. So like dexterity checks are reduced and stuff like that because you're a bit wobbly now on your feet because you've had one too many wines, and stuff like that. So that's the kind of the premise of the mechanics. And then there's harm, which is like damage points. You gain levels of harm, and you get so many harm, you become defeated and unconscious and everything, and all the basic stuff. But yeah, one of the things with 2D20 that we do is adventures and gameplays run in scenes. So it's a little bit more cinematic in the sense that you have a scene, which is like all this stuff's going on. It's like if you look at it as a play, it's like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and then that act is broken down to several specific scenes. And that's the way we structure adventures within the system as well.
Yeah, I love scene play. City Mist was big on that when I ran that on the channel. And both games I'm running in March on TIO and Open Circuit are both Fate games, and Fate games are also very scene heavy. Once the scene's over, conditions change, stuff changes, resets a little bit. Exactly. It is like it makes it very cinematic, which I love.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it leads to more role play heavy gameplay rather than it just being, we do this, these numbers are rolled, which means we can do this.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I have this many spell slots and hit points over this. I need a rest at this certain. It's less resource management and just more focus on playing the game.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice. It sounds like fun.
It's good. And then depending on the setting, whether it be Dune, Conan, Fallout, what else do we do? I should know. The Star Trek Adventures is one of our big games. Depending on the system, then the mechanics are slightly edited to be more customized to that system. So there's other little.
Yeah, I know the Fallout game specifically takes the stats and changes it to meet the special stat line that they use in the video games, which is pretty cool. And they have a lot of the perks from those video games that you can usually buy in game. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
As you can tell, I've really read over the Fallout book. I'm waiting to play that one. That's like the main Modiphius game that I'm trying to play it at some point, but I'm probably gonna end up running. So,
do you like? Yeah. Oh, no, you go ahead, Danny. You're the guest.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's our system, and what we currently have, to allude back to what Pluto was saying, is Modiphius we've released our OGL for the 2D20 system. We previously released our SRD so that people could get their hands on. It was a free release, get their hands on the mechanics themselves, that they can then customize them to whatever game setting they want to do, so they can create a 2D20 game. We've released our OGL now, so you can create your own games and sell your own games. One of the things we've done is we've partnered with Drive-Thru RPG with it. So Drive-Thru take a percentage of anything sold through them. With our partnership, we take a small percentage as well, but anything that goes through the Drive-Thru RPG and everything, we also add in promotion and marketing on top of that. That's where our percentage goes to. So that means that we will help promote and market your games that you're creating using our OGL through Drive-Thru RPG and everything. And then on top of that, we have a commercial license you can apply for within that, which reduces the percentage taken away from your revenue. But because you've gone commercial with it, then we actually pump additional cash in to do higher levels of marketing and promotion for it and everything. And with the commercial license, we will also negotiate distribution and manufacturing and like publishing of the games as well through that.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
And then we've got the world builders community
yeah.
that we've opened up. I will hold my hands up. I
I
have
know
not
there's
looked at
something
that
on. I
opportunity.
know there's some stuff for that on the Discord. There's a bunch of
Yes.
channels on there. I don't have any time to I poked in a little bit here and there. It's like a lot
Yeah.
of sharing ideas. Some people have already posted like playtests of their systems that they're trying to make from it. And then there's like LFG for like finding graphic designers and other writers to help out people like get it together.
Yeah. From what I can gather is it's what we've done is we've created this world builders community, which is for all those that want to use our OGL to create their own games using the 2D20 system. It's this big shared resource pool for everyone to talk to each other about the games they're making. Again, looking for graphic designers, looking for writers, editors. So you've got that kind of TTRPG community, world building, creative community. It has its own little hub within 2D20 and Modiphius, and yeah, we've got that going on as well.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing. I'm slowly, because I have way too many fucking things that I do. I'm slowly trying to build a 2D20 system game at some point. But yeah, it's definitely a cool thing to be able to just have that to go off of and have the way it's already set up to like you don't have to do any of the like the late work to actually like make money off of it. It's pretty nice too.
Yeah.
That is nice.
Yeah, because usually go to for new systems is like start a Kickstarter and hope it takes off and hope it goes from there. I think it's generally what most people do now. So
Yeah. Do we still have time?
yeah, we're still good.
Okay. I was just going to ask, and now I don't know, maybe you don't play as a player anymore, so maybe this is a dumb question, but I was gonna ask, do you prefer being a GM or like a player in the game?
I think I will always prefer to be a GM in any game I'm
Yeah.
involved in. I don't know why. It's like I enjoy being a player, but
It's
I
because
think
you
it's
only
just
run horror games and you just want to kill us all, Danny. Just admit it.
there is that. But I don't know. I have a lot of ideas for story elements
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and weird things like that. Like really random, and this might be a tangent, and I will save it for an off air thing. But the two backgrounds you've got in this call, whilst we've been at it, I've already created a story based on those. I know, really weird, but
That's
like
actually really cool.
yeah, I don't know. I like telling stories, and I like not necessarily orchestrating it, but I love being a GM and being sat there with a group and watching them role play together and weaving their own character stories and their own spotlight and highlights within that. But within that overarching story that I've created, there's just like a joy I find in sitting back as a GM, like we were saying, for 20 minutes, just watching the players do their thing. It's like, it's for me, it's entertainment watching my players do what they do, but it's also a warming feeling to watch them weaving this story within something I've created as well.
Yeah, that's
I like that more.
Yeah, and I like that because I think that's a great answer because I think like how you were also saying how you basically created stories of like the two backgrounds that we have as well. It's like I'm a lot like you in that sense because I have a very creative mind, so I'm happiest when I'm creating stuff and I'll like look at like an object or just like something happened to me in the day or see like a pattern of something and I'll just come up with an acting skit in my head. Like it'll just pop up. So like it's so fun to just use your creative mind to come up with things and how like objects and words and things we go through can really inspire us to create something. Like I think that's super cool because when you said you looked at the backgrounds, you were a creative story, I was like, that's me. That is so cool because I do the same thing.
yeah. I mean, that's literally what happened with the space campaign I'm running. I dove more and more into the Pluto brand to the point where I had to run a
Yeah.
game and made Pluto like one of the home like world capital planets. So yeah, it happens. And
I
like,
think it's like a thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no,
Pluto.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's a thing for us creative people that like use the creative side of our brain a lot. It's like it's a natural thing, you know, it just kind of happens because it's just a part of us. So we don't even mean for it to happen. It's just we get inspired so easily. So it makes sense you like to sit back and watch the characters kind of like play off of like what you know, told them and like created, like getting to see them interact. It's probably a proud moment because you know this is like something that you created and you get to actually experience it, almost like you're watching a movie, but it's like
Yeah,
unfolding
exactly.
in front of you, which is really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And it's like all those ideas like that we have that we get excited over. It's like you want to share those ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And as a GM, you're able to do that because you can have 12 different ideas that all in their own little bubbles are some crazy mad little thing. But if you
Yeah.
add them all together and weave them the right way, it becomes a whole story. And you get to share all that with your friends when you're playing, when you're running this game for them. But then you get to
Yeah.
watch them experience the idea you had and find fun and entertainment within that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, yeah, that's what I like.
Yeah, definitely getting the
Yeah.
players to
That's
dive
awesome.
into your idea, really get invested, backstory, really bounce off of it, and then go from there is so great. When I got Jenny to play in my first Switch campaign, and I got her so invested that when I killed half her
That was
family, she
horrible.
got actually upset with me in real
Yeah,
life.
I was
She
crying.
barely talked to me the rest of that night. She was so upset with me.
I mean, okay, I talked to them, but not in a nice way. I was so mad. Like, they just had my character Thomas make up with his father. And I was like, this is a beautiful moment. And then after that, killed him and like the rest of my family, except for like one family or two family members.
It was
I was so
4, but
traumatized.
one of them was one of the reasons they all died. So but
I
yeah, it
was
was
so
like it was a very
traumatized.
high death medieval campaign, and they were at like a
That was
king's
mean.
tourney, so all the capital people were there, and her family was like the duke of like the human kingdom or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had like an antagonistic relationship, and her character joined the Adventurers Guild or something because he was like the what was he, like the fifth son, like he was like second to last in
He
like
was
succession.
I think he was the sixth. Yeah.
Yeah, you were 6
But
out of 7 kids.
if you would have killed my other father, Colin, I would have raised hell at you.
Yeah, so I got her to talk to him, work things out, did everything, and then during the tournament at the end, volley of arrows hits the crowd and takes out like all the nobility. And I
Yeah.
had her rolling death saves to see which of her family members didn't die.
And that was
That's horrible.
traumatizing because it was like my, like if I would have rolled good,
You
maybe
only
some of
you
them could have
only you only
lived.
rolled good
But
on 2 of them because the youngest kid was safe regardless, but you only saved your
yeah, I
sister.
hope.
You saved your one sister and your other
Colin.
and your non heir dad, like the dad who
Yeah.
married into the family. So yeah, it was really
Yeah.
she was so like she went through all the denials of grief. Like she was full on bargaining. She went through anger, depression.
Yeah.
She went through
I
it
was like,
all.
come on now. I feel like GM's like
Even
making people sad.
yeah, my friend
Yeah.
Justin's in it. Like he's played with me the longest out of everyone. He's been there since I started. He was the first one to interact with me in that initial West Guards group I played in. And he was like, I've never seen Ginny so invested in a character in
Yeah,
my
I
life.
got really invested in that character. That was crazy.
I like to
But
say that I traumatize my characters, but it's just my way of getting you involved in that backstory is by doing something to make you involved in the backstory. It
But if you
works.
think about it, though, it makes sense that you GMs like to do that. I'm referring to both of you because I'm assuming Danny likes to do that too. Because it's like it's like you're directing a movie, right? And you know how directors like making people sad and producers when we're watching a film. So it's like that. It's like you got to have some heartbreak and traumatizing things in there to keep people engaged and wanting to keep watching. In this case, keep playing. But it still sucks, man. It's still not fun.
I mean, you got to have some stakes involved. You got to have something to drive your
Yeah.
characters forward.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Even though I was very sad and I was very angry at Justin or Pluto,
No, you're good. Yeah, but I think we're coming up on an hour now. So, thanks for joining us, Danny. It was awesome.
Yes, it was great meeting you.
Then we mentioned a few things you're in. Do you want to do anything to plug anything that you're working on or that you're doing at the moment?
Well, check out the initiative order. Join our Discord. We run free monthly community games via our Discord. First come, first serve. No paywalls, no gatekeeping, no restrictions on whether you're new to gaming or experienced. Come pick a game, jump in. We provide everything you need to play, and we run games there. We also run streams on Twitch, showcasing new systems as much as possible. Yeah, we do all that. And then if you want to say hi to me, check for traps on social media, stuff there. And if you're looking for some new role playing games outside of D&D with the whole that thing that
Yeah.
was, Check out Modiphius. We make some kind of cool games. And we have lots of cool ones coming that I can't tell you about yet, but you know, you'll when I'm allowed, you'll know.
As long as you tell me first.
I'll tell you after this call.
Bet.
Oh, hey, I want to know.
Death in Space is Saturdays. What time?
Is Death in Space is every other Saturday at it's 9 p.m. GMT,
Okay.
which is 1 p.m. PST.
Awesome. Perfect.
For those who want to watch every other Saturday, and that's a sci-fi space horror game in a universe where it is slowly collapsing in on itself, and there is a void beyond the universe that is leaking in and corrupting everything.
Awesome. Love that. That's kind of similar
Nice.
to my Starfinder game, actually. There's a cosmic explosion that's kind of like blocked off our specific solar system. So it's kind of fun. I'm looking forward to them diving into that.
That's intense.
Well, after it's on hold till after the Super Bowl because my team made it this year. So the next Sunday, not this Sunday, but yeah, I have way too many things to plug. I've realized I'm not going to plug every single thing I'm in. I think what I'm going to do is throw a like pinned tweet with every project I'm in at the moment at the top of my Twitter. So go look at my Twitter, and I'll have everything up there probably by next week because we did that the other night for the John Gross game on TIO. We're like, yeah, we all have way too many things to plug. Let's just all plug one thing. Otherwise, it's going to take 20 minutes to sign off this game. So yeah.
Oh, let people know your Twitter name though.
Oh yeah. Follow me everywhere at Pluto Cleric on all social media platforms. And babe.
And oh, okay. I was like, is it my turn? Okay. I just want to say first off, it was amazing having Danny here. I love learning more about the TTRPG community. And for me, you guys can find me anywhere at Just Being Jin. That's Just Being, and then Jin is GIN. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. On TikTok, I have some fun stuff coming up with some of my friends. We do this little skit called The Dating Parade. There's a lot of really incredible actors that have starred on it. We have like 11 episodes. So I'm posting one of those soon. I also have a collab coming up. It's like a Scream 5 collab. We're doing a scene from it, me and my good friend Ray. So that's coming up soon as well. And, just acting skits, acting challenges every day on my TikTok. And also, this channel here, the podcast, we have a TikTok now as well, The Gainer Gossip. I'll be posting starting next Monday. I'm going to take clips from each episode and post them on the TikTok so you can see like the best bits of the podcast without watching the whole thing. But if you do want to watch the whole thing, you can watch it here and also on Podbean. But yeah, that's all my stuff. So
you can watch it here on YouTube and listen along to it on gainergossip.podbean.com as well as Spotify and Amazon Music. So
yes.
Every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Danny, this episode will probably go up in 2 to 3 weeks, I would say.
Yes.
Something like that. Okay. But yeah, that is everything.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah, that's everything, everybody. Thanks for joining us today, Danny, and we will see you all next time. Have a good night.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Danny.
Bye.
Bye.